There's never been a better time to have SiriusXM. With even more exclusive content, with over 150 channels in your vehicle, including the widest, deepest variety of music, ad-free. Root for your team. Get news. Listen to whatever makes you laugh. And hear all about your favorite stars. Your Platinum Plan offer includes more than ever before to enjoy online, on your phone, or at home. Create your own ad-free personalized stations powered by Pandora. Hear ad-free extra channels filled with music and enjoy favorite shows with SiriusXM Video. Thousands of hours of shows and performances on demand. What you love is on now.
It's been a busy year, or last half year anyhow, for the JL Audio Camp. Their recent introduction of course, their max measurement system really shook up the industry a couple months ago. And of course, their Tune 4.0 software also hit the scene, and it's got all, everybody in the tough because their product trained all new things at JL Audio when it comes to and DSP. And we also have, of course, Dave from Gems and joining us as well. This is CMA Connected, presented by SiriusXM, JL Audio, and it starts now. So we all know JL Audio is no slouch when it comes to car audio. It's a complete line. We've got subwoofers, multiple different types of subwoofers, amplifiers, and DSP, and of course, their new measurement system, which is called Max. JL Audio is such a respected brand, and when they come out with something as innovative as this, of course, it's going to cause some waves, and of course, it's going to cause some discussion. So if you're a dealer tuning in, hoping to find out more information, whether or not it's worthwhile for your shop and your business model to invest in a system such as Max, well, you've come to the right show, because we will get you the answers today. Let's start by inviting my first guest, Dave Singh, who is the National Sales Manager for Gemsen and their distributor for JL Audio in Canada. What's going on, Dave?
Hey, Ben. Good to see you.
It's great to see you, Dave. And the question I bring up is a question I get asked quite often, and I hear the chatter. It's that, JL Audio came out with this brand new measurement system. It looks fancy. Shop, and I know that's what we want to talk about today. But how important is it that shops pay attention to what's going on right here, right now with this system?
Well, first questions first, is it an important system? Is it worthwhile? And, one of the things that JL Audio has always done is really paid attention to a lot of the challenges that dealers and installers have encountered in the install bay. Many years ago, they were one of the first to come up with a tool called Clean Sweep, which is a summing device and, an equalization device. So many years later, now that vehicles have gotten much more complex and it's more challenging to achieve the results, you need specific specialty tools to identify the signals, to identify what you're working with in order to make sure that those aftermarket speakers and aftermarket amplifiers that the customer is buying are going to perform to the maximum potential they're capable of. So Max definitely is a hugely useful tool, and the amount of different things that you can achieve with it are countless. We're really excited about this tool.
Yeah, and we have the right person that's going to be helping us kind of walk through all the different features and benefits and all the automation tools. I know that JL's been talking about a lot. And just a real segue before we even dive into the details, I still hear, Dave, believe it or not, there are shops out there that haven't even really got onto that DSP thing. I almost feel like they avoid it to a certain point, if I could say that. There's other shops that have obviously, all in. Their techs are all up to speed. They've got the right equipment to get the job done. I'd like to hear what you have to say about kind of, I guess, this nexus that we've reached in mobile audio.
Well, I don't want to sound pessimistic, and I never wish poorly for any dealer, but I think it's one of those things where if you don't adapt and keep up with the current tools and and methods that are needed to deal with some of the complex cars, you're going to achieve pretty poor results, and that ends up with disappointed customers, and then customers thinking the product's not good, or maybe the service that they got is not good. It's extremely important to adapt and to learn all these new trends. Things are changing all the time. The tools that we're using, whether it's in the install bay, whether it's fabrication, that sort of thing, all these tools make you more efficient and more profitable. If you can get things done quicker and more efficiently, at the end of the day, the investment that you're making today will pay off in dividends, because you can now do some of these complex jobs and shave hours off of the tuning time and the testing time.
No doubt about it. I'm going to add one more layer to what you just said there, Dave. I think it's a question of, doing what's best for your business with the way technology is going and the way that vehicles are being made, and the how can I say this? You want to be able to say yes to all your customers. When a customer comes in, it shouldn't matter what type of vehicle they have. They want to improve their sound, and that's your job to give that to them. What these type of systems do is allow for you to do that and not say no. So yes, there's a part of it, Dave, where I 100% agree with you, to optimize the system to make sure it sounds the very best, you're getting the right signal, so on and so forth. But I think there's a business side to that, whereby you are limiting yourself to a narrower market by not putting yourself in a position to accommodate all situations. That's what I have to say.
I agree with you, and it's unfortunate that in today's day and age, there are certain dealers that are turning away cars because they take a look at it and say, "Wow, that's 26 speakers from the factory. That's too much," and that doesn't need to be the way. There are where you just need to learn and invest the time into them.
Well, I'll tell you, I think we have, like I said, we've got Rob Haynes in the studio with us. So let's prep for that. We've got a cool video, kind of sets the lay of the land. JL made a big statement with their Vxi amplifiers years ago when they came out with them. They're still incredibly relevant today, especially with the new software that kind of marries different features and unlocks different feature sets. But let's go ahead and roll the tape. Vxi amplifiers from JL.
Vxi Amplifiers. Simplify. Each Vxi amplifier was designed to offer users almost limitless combinations of amplifiers and channel architectures, along with the amazing power of integrated DSP technology. The Vxi line consists of 8 models and 3 different chassis styles, all smaller in footprint than a sheet of notebook paper. 2 monoblocks, a 600-watt and a 1,000-watt, a 600-watt 2-channel, a 400-watt 4-channel, a 600-watt 6-channel, an 800-watt 8-channel, and 2 5-channel system amplifiers with 700 watts or 1,000 watts. To support our Vxi amplifiers, we developed a range of accessories to aid with installation, interface, and functionality. A Bluetooth communicator allows wireless access to the amplifier from the Tune app. A JL ID-COM, an optical audio network hub, performs 2 distinct functions when employing 2 or more Vxi amplifiers: data networking and digital audio distribution. And a wired digital remote control provides master and subwoofer volume control, as well as preset or mode selection. Learn more at jlaudio.com/Vxi.
Very slick amplifiers. We're going to go ahead and bring our product specialist from JL Audio into the studio with us today. His name is Rob Haynes, and he is the product trainer for JL Audio. Happy to have him back once again. Rob, where are you, buddy? There you are. How are you doing, sir?
There I am. Doing well. Good morning. Thanks for having me back again. It's always an honor when I'm allowed back.
Well, we, of course, will allow you back. You're great at your job, and you can bring goodies with you with little nuggets of information that are so important for us to share.
And you're Canadian, right?
Well, exactly. My dad is born in Edmonton.
There you go. So you're
a little bit of that Canadian DNA in me.
Very best. Rob, today's an important one. Dealers tuning in today, they want to find out, answers to a couple of questions. The Max system has been out for a couple of months, right? You've had a chance to talk to some dealers. You've been out on the show circuit a little bit. What has been some of the initial feedback that you've heard?
I mean, it's been phenomenal. From firsthand experience, I have had the opportunity to finally travel again and do a couple of on-site trainings where we kind of went through a guided process of how to tune a vehicle with Max. And it was seeing the light bulbs go off above people's heads when they see how efficient and precise it is. By using Max, and especially with some of the micro automations we'll talk about in a few moments with Vxi and MVI, it takes all of that guesswork out of the equation. Really, if you have a guided process you follow, and again, especially if you use the micro automations that work with our DSP-based products, just about anyone should be able to go in and make the car sound phenomenal. Next level in a fraction of the time, thanks to having guided measurements and some of the tools we were able to integrate with our MVI, Vxi, and now TWK products after our Tune 4.5 launch on Thursday of last week.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so before I let you get on the screen, I want them to know what they can expect if they're going to strap in here for the next 20 minutes. What can they expect to learn and get out of what you're about to present?
Hopefully a lot of excitement and the thought that they have to have a Max in their store so they can turn out better systems and be a lot more proficient and efficient while doing so.
All right. Well, on that note, I know you have a presentation ready to go for us. Dave and I will take a back seat, take out our notepads, and so will everybody else. And you have the comm, sir. All
right. Sounds good. So what I wanted to talk about today, we got a lot to cover really quickly. But real quick, just a quick review of the Vxi and MVI family of amplifiers, what we call the 3 pillars of audio, which are very important when we're system tuning, and how our Max measurement system will help with that, what's part of the Max measurement system, how it plays with our tune software, and of course that integration with our JL Audio DSP products, so Vxi, MVI, and TWK standalone processors. So when we talk about Vxi and MVI, that is our latest generation of amplifiers from JL Audio, designed by our very talented team in Phoenix, Arizona, and our DSP-based team in Portland, Oregon. And really what they are 2 completely different lines designed for specific mobile applications, such as Vxi here. Very compact, lots of channels, fully scalable. I love the fact this is my car, so of course I got to show it off, but 17 channels of DSP power in my spare tire well. That's a lot of power and a lot of processing in very minimal space. But it's different on the marine side with MVI. While it's based off the Vxi platform, there's a lot of changes that make them more suitable for marine installations. The way we change the input and output connectors, the way we have extra pairs of inputs. So just about any MVI amp can pair with a 4-zone marine source unit like our Media Master. Having extra pairs of pre-outs so we can add DSP to non-analog amplifiers, more than just the one you have on Vxi. So fully, again, scalable and designed more for the marine market. So these are very powerful amplifiers, very flexible amplifiers. A lot of that's thanks to the custom triple core DSP that's inside. And I love these beauty shots that our marketing team's always able to get. It shows off all the beautiful hard work our team in Arizona does when they design our circuit boards and all of that stuff. But we've collaborated with our DSP partner to not just take a chip off the shelf and put it in our amps, but this is a customized chip. On top of the normal processing you'd expect, like a powerful parametric EQ, signal delay, all pass filter capabilities on Vxi and MVI, individual level trim, all the routing, all the stuff you'd expect to do with a DSP product, but it also manages the amplifier as well. That's where that customization had to come into play. So this truly is the heart of the amplifier, and not just for system tuning, but how it manages everything internally on the amplifier as well. So a lot of work went into those Vxi and MVI amplifiers. And again, for me, when I talk about fully scalable, whether you're in a basic or an advanced system, I don't know how many times I've seen with a standalone DSP, there's a lot of times you run out of channels. Maybe you're doing active 3-ways up front, you've got active 2-ways in the rear and a subwoofer. Well, on a lot of standalone DSPs that are what I call everyday customer affordable, they typically have 6 to 8 channels. So sometimes you may run out of processing. You might not be able to, tune your rears or the subwoofer. So with Vxi and MVI, every speaker output has DSP processing. The analog pre-outs have DSP processing. On Vxi, the Toslink output's got EQ controls as well. So every channel in the system, if designed properly, has that DSP processing. So there's no more compromises for rear speakers or a center channel if you're like you may run into with a standalone DSP where you don't have enough outputs to feed everything to your standalone amplifiers. So fully scalable, whether it's a small system or a large system, and really just makes the overall system design easy. And what I love about all of that is it is always going to make for a happy customer. When we're selling DSP-based products and we have them dialed in properly, that's where those customers want to come back. I'm a firm believer, I'm sure I've said it on here, for our industry to continue to grow and survive, we have to do a better job at the retail and manufacturers level of exceeding customer expectations. As OEM systems become good enough for most of our customers, if what we're charging them thousands of dollars to do is good enough, they're not going to come back. We have to blow their socks off. We have to exceed those expectations. And that's where the return and referral business comes into play. So for me, that's what DSP is all about. Whether it's a C7 type customer or a C1, C2 level customer, it really doesn't matter. DSP will make that system sound better. I personally would rather have less expensive speakers on a DSP amplifier than more expensive speakers on a non-DSP based product. But by selling them those more expensive products, their expectations are going to go up as well. So that's where it's important we know what we're doing when we set up our DSP products. And of course, as a shop, we've already talked about it, right? We need to be proficient. You can't rely on just one person with that golden ear to be tuning cars. And that's where the guided processes and the micro automations that are built into Tune 4 and the Max measurement system come into play. And of course, there's the efficiency as well. Dave already talked about it. We need to be profitable. We can't charge an hour or two to tune a car and spend an entire day on it. And again, that's where listening to our retail partners have come into play, and where a lot of those strategic micro automations that you'll find with Tune 4, Max, and JL Audio DSP products not only make you quicker, but you get consistent, precise results by using those automations. So all that guesswork is gone. And like I said, anyone should be able to, with Tune 4 and Max, be able to go in and get everything dialed in, especially when you have a target, which we'll get into when we talk about target mode. But for me as a retailer, Max, Tune 4, and Vxi, MVI, or TWK now with the last update for Tune 4.5, this is where all of these goals for successful DSP business, it all comes together. And I got some cool videos towards the end that I hope you'll agree with that. But when we talk about system tuning, we do need to talk about the three pillars. If you think about a home audio system, you sit in your nice chair with your smug glass of scotch in the middle and it sounds beautiful, right? But that's because we're equal distance to the speakers. We should be on access to both speakers. So our levels are going to be identical. The frequency responses, if not identical, should be pretty darn close. And of course, the timing's all going to be the same. That's how we have that center image. And if you close your eyes, you can see everything, visualize everything, on the imaginary stage in front of you. But when we get into a car, we screw all of that up. We break it all because we sit closer to one side. All of the speakers are probably on different angles, so completely different frequency responses, different levels. There's going to be time-related issues. And that's the stuff with DSP we need to be able to fix. But to do that, you have to take measurements. Yes, it's a must in capital letters because you can't figure that stuff out by ear. And a lot of times, if you try to just go in by ear, you might correct a couple of things, but you're probably going to make other aspects of it worse. You can't see where there's time issues affecting summation of drivers in an active system. It's really for tuning, especially where Max comes into play, is you can visualize driver interaction and make educated choices to improve the system. And when you do all of that, that's where those consistent results. Your shop should have a sound. It shouldn't sound different every time a different person tunes a car. And again, that's where Max and Tune 4 come into play. So when we talk about what Max and Tune 4 can do with those three pillars of audio, we can use meters and gains to look at our levels. We can use our RTA or magnitude to analyze and make corrections to frequency response. And you'll see in just a bit how the auto set EQ to target really quickly takes care of the frequency response for you and takes out the guesswork about where you need to cut and how wide the Q is and all of that stuff. And of course, with Max, we can look at time and phase analysis as well by using impulse response to set initial delays and then have an actual live phase measurement so we can determine where, if, and when we need to use delay or all pass filters to improve the summation of drivers or how different pairs of speakers are all interacting with one another. And that's typically that 10 to 15% we've been leaving on the table for years because a lot of shops don't look at time analysis. There really wasn't a tool that made sense or was easily affordable or would work on a standard, shop computer until Max came about. So Max will allow us to address those and take your systems to that next level. When we talk about the Max system, there is a lot that comes in that nice travel case. Of course, I got my nice yellow Max box right here, all the different connections on your sides. Really plug and play, power it up, plug it into your amplifiers in your computer, launch tune, and it automatically connects. It comes with the 5 microphones and your mounting bars. What it does not come with is a stand. Knowing there's all sorts of different applications. I use just a mic stand here. I know some of our guys use tripods. It's all up to you, but the bar, the 5 microphones, all of that's part of the package. You can break the mics off. We are marine guys. When we do tune boats that have MVI, they'll put microphones in different zones. They'll put the stand at the captain's chair to get a nice sweet spot. It's a very flexible system. And it's not just car. Home audio. We've done a couple home trainings on our JL Audio Facebook page where we've used Max to improve the summation and the acoustical interaction amongst the subwoofer and a very nice pair of main or satellite speakers. So this is not just a car piece. It can be used in home. It can be used in marine. It can be used in pro audio. Matt, who works with me in training, actually tuned a small club in Fort Lauderdale with it. He put Max in their different locations throughout the club and used their sound systems DSP to get it all dialed in. So a very flexible piece that's really nice to use. And there's that nice travel case if you are going remote with it. But the big deal with Max is the 5 microphones. Typically, we'll see you have a single microphone, USB or an XLR that plugs into a sound card and it gets jammed into the headrest. And while that's great having a mic in the center for time-based measurements, but that's not how our ears work. My ears are not right here, dead center, where we typically would place a microphone. So the nice thing with the 5 mic array that is built into Max is we're able to take advantage of what's called multiplexing. And we made sure that all of that's done internally on the Max system. This relieves a lot of strain from your computers because it is a lot of processing. But with multiplexing, what we're doing is we're quickly taking the average of those 5 microphones, and it really just gives us a larger sweet spot. I put it in quotes. I call it the sphere of awesomeness. Because instead of the sweet spot being right here, when you're looking at that RTA in the Max measurement system, that frequency response is an average of this area where the customer's head is typically going to be in the car. So with the 5 mics, we get a larger sweet spot. We get better analysis. We still have the middle mic for our time-based measurements, but a better overall frequency response where the customer head is typically going to be in a way that our ears work instead of just having a mic where their nose would be. So really allows us, again, to get to that next level, that extra performance that makes your shop stand out from the competition and keeps your customers and hopefully their friends wanting to come in for those Max tune systems. So when we talk about Max and measurements, this is where the Tune 4 software comes into play. So with Tune 4, we have a couple of different measurement panels that we can look at. And we're not going to get into a lot of details on these. We've got plenty of videos on our YouTube and Facebook page, as well as articles on our Help Center. But meters and gain, which is the first on the top panel here, this shows us our signal strength. Here it's showing me plugged in with a USB-based microphone. Remember, Tune 4 is free. You can do some basic functionalities in Tune 4 with a USB-based microphone. So here it's showing me the signal strength of my microphone. I've got my signal generator on the far right side. If we had Max plugged in, it would show me the signal strength of all 5 microphones, the Toslink inputs and outputs, all of that stuff on the meters and gains panel right there. It also has what's called a spectrograph, which is on the top panel. This is, again, part of free. It can be used with Max or a USB-based microphone. But it's kind of like, I look at it as a top-down view of an RTA over time. So when you see that, when we see the orange bar going, or the orange going across, that was a quick full-range burst of energy. When you look at that red spot around 70 hertz, that stays consistent. That means we have extra energy that's consistent there. So really good tool to troubleshoot for door chimes, ticks, noises to figure out what frequency. Something where an RTA would just be a blip and gone. Now we can see that being that it passes over time, which is really neat. And of course, we do have a very powerful RTA that's built into Tune 4. Right now we have it showing 1/48th banding. So a lot of different options when it comes to the resolution, as well as the averaging. So averaging is how fast it responds. Do you want it stable or do you want it moving quicker? We can also then change our banding. So higher resolution down to lower resolution. You can go all the way down to a single octave. And if bars is not your cup of tea, they are mine, but not for an RTA. We have the line option as well. This is what I like because it's a little easier to see, especially when we start talking about targets. But again, with the line RTA, again, we can change the banding. So we have lower or higher resolution as needed. And again, that can also be important when you start taking advantage of that auto set EQ functionality. So those we can do for free with Tune 4 with the USB microphone or the Max measurement system. What is only available with Max is where we start getting into the time analysis. Stuff like IR, where we can set our impulse response, where we can set our initial delays. And I'll get more into that in just a moment. Of course, then we also have our live phase analysis. And typically what you would do here is capture one speaker, have that capture on the screen, and then compare the live phase so we can get those lined up again using either delay or all pass filters, maybe polarity. And again, you can learn more about how to do all of that on our all of our videos and content we've done. But this is phase for me is a big deal because this is where we are leaving performance on the table a lot of the time. And now we can properly see what we need to do to improve the interaction or summations between drivers in the vehicle. And again, that's where that next level comes to play. A new feature found on Tune 4.5 is an oscilloscope. And I got a cool video of it here. You can see it live on the bottom. And as we start to increase the level, you'll see the sine wave gets higher until now we're clipping. We can see that the square wave on the top. So we are now clipping our signal. And as we lower the signal, we'll see our sine wave looks nice and clean again. So that's a cool new feature built into Tune 4.5 is that oscilloscope functionality that can work for electrical or acoustical measurements. And speaking of electrical measurements, Tune's not just an OEM or a system tuning hardware. We have very high quality, high level inputs, XLR inputs on our Max measurement system, 80 volts. So, 160 volts peak to peak. You can measure an RD 1500/1 full tilt and boogie with a Max measurement system. We do sell a optional probe kit that's available for electrical measurements. And there's articles that show you how to make them as well. And here's just some cool electrical measurements. We're comparing levels, comparing frequency response. Here we're looking at IR, seeing electrically what speakers are, the time delay that the system has built into it. So a very powerful tool for OEM integration as well. I know Matt has called a lot of our retailers that have purchased Max, and one shop said they use it every day. And it's not just for system tuning, it's for integration, it's for troubleshooting. Figuring out the tuning frequency of ported enclosures. There's a lot you can do with it. But for me, the targets mode is where Max shines. And this is where a lot of that, I guess you could say trepidation when it comes to working with DSP gets thrown out the window. Because we're giving you essentially guides for what the speakers need to be doing individually and what they need to be doing as a full range system. So here's a 4-way target. We're going to want you to tune your tweeter to the tweeter, the mid-range to the mid-range, mid-bass to the mid-bass, the sub to the sub. And then we want, when everything's playing together, it should follow that yellow summation. But if you don't have a 4-way system, we do include these targets with Tune 4. It'll all be configured by the setup tool at the start, or you can load different targets as well by switching to targets mode. And then again, you've got your 4-way target. You've got a 3-way target that we can load down here. We've got the 2-way. So maybe it's a passive system or some coaxials. And if you don't like the target that we've given you, you can adjust it as well by clicking on the little pop-outs down there. And you can change the frequency response, the filter frequency, the slope, the equalization, the level of each of those targets, or the summation as well. So you do have full customization of the targets mode. But where targets get important, as we can see right here, is where we start adjusting our filters and our EQ. This is what allows us to get everything dialed in to that target. And in theory, if everything there is perfect, we should see a very similar, full range response to that yellow summed target. So all of that can be done standalone. Where it really comes together is with TWK, Vxi, and MVI because of that tight integration. So if you're not using our products, you can still do everything we've talked about. You'll just have to use a different DSP software to control, but you still got a very high quality measurement system to guide you through that process. But where it really shines is with our tight integration. Of course, we're going to make it work nice with our products. We want to make it as simple as possible for the installers in the Bay to quickly put out those top-notch systems. So on top of having all your DSP controls and measurements on a single screen, that alone makes life easier. I've been to trainings where, you know, you're going back and forth between the software program and the RTA. If you're on a single screen, it's really hard. With us, everything is on top of the screen and easy to work with. Everything's real time. And again, those strategic micro automations take the guesswork out of the mix. So let me show you what I'm talking about. First of all, when we talk about live controls, you can see here, if I want to manually control the parametric EQ, you can see as I make a cut, the RTA starts to fall as well. And all I'm doing is making adjustments to get my RTA to match that target for the mid-range driver. Here, I'm changing the Q in those controls. We can come in and drag and move. So you can see really quickly how you can determine what decisions need to be made by using the RTA and overlaying the EQ controls on top of it. So that's really cool. It simplifies the process, but it gets even easier. This is me doing the entire front stage and subwoofer of my car using our auto set to EQ functionality. So I'm going to come in and unmute my tweeter. And in the bottom left corner, I'm going to click the EQ pop-out panel. And you'll notice that little kind of white rectangle. It says select the data, output, and target. So that's telling me my left tweeter is to my tweeter target. I click auto set EQ, and look at that. My tweeter is now dialed in. I'm going to go through and do the right tweeter. I will do the same process. It still says target, tweeter, auto set. But the beautiful thing with our automations is we don't lock you out. You still have full control. So when I go to the mid-range driver here, after I run the auto set EQ, I can use whatever bands that the automation didn't use. I can maybe not use bands in automation, and whatever I have left over, I can go through and play with after. So you'll see here, there's a little bit around, 1,000 hertz. I'm going to take one of these bands after the automations run. I still have control to make it better if I want. If I don't like what it did, I can reset it. We're not hiding anything from you during the automation process. We actually recommend that after you run these micro automations, you look at each one and make sure it's where you want and what other adjustments may need to be made. So again, we'll go through, we'll do the right mid-range. I mean, to make these types of calculations when we're determining the width of our Q, so how wide or narrow is the booster cut, the frequencies, the amplitude, this is a lot quicker than what I was showing you earlier by manually moving all of those around. And of course, we'll come in. Now it's showing we're on the mid bass. So when you select your target in that bottom right corner where the mute icons are, so you'll notice here when I switch the G and H, it's actually going to switch on the EQ panel to the right front woofer. And it's already assigned the mid bass target, so that stays the same. So again, when we talk about taking the guesswork out of the mix, this is what I'm talking about right here. All of this EQ work, the micro automation's doing the guesswork for you. We're giving you the baseline that it needs to be at, and the micro automation does the rest. And now we'll do the subwoofer real quick. I'll click on my, I guess I didn't do the subwoofer on that one, but that's how quick the front stage is done. And that's pretty impressive. The other quick micro automation I want to talk about is our delay finder and IR. And if you've never looked at an IR response before, really it's when the signal is hitting the microphone. So compared to the built-in reference signal on Macs, it's factoring in time going through all the electronics out to the speakers, from the speakers acoustically to the microphone. That's what IR is. And on the bottom where that arrow just went by, that's time. And what we can do here using our delay finder is play a speaker, click find delay, and it gives us the measured delay. And we're going to click insert to make that our reference, because we have to have a reference. We have to have a time zero, which is going to be the furthest speaker away. That way we know how to properly align everything else. And that's what we'll see in our reference delay. And when we click insert, you'll notice that time zero now says 6.05, just like what our reference delay is. That's our reference now that we're going to compare other speakers to. If speakers arrive to the left of 6.05, that means they're arriving earlier. If they're arriving to the right, it means they're arriving later, and that then needs to become our new reference delay. And let me show you how quick that all of this works in this video. Before I go to the video though, after we get our reference, we then need to apply the delays. Again, that's where that fine delay comes into play. But now we're going to click Insert Delta, and that automatically applies the delay to that channel. So everything arrives at the same time, and I'll show you how cool that is. So we're going to go through again in my car with my 3-way C7 speakers and unmute the front tweeter. I'm going to click Find Delay, and I'm going to make that my reference by clicking Insert. So now you'll notice on the bottom at 4.72 is now time 0. We'll go to the right speaker. That's further away. So we're going to make that our new time 0 at 597. Left side, that's closer. So that's going to arrive earlier. We'll go through to the right mid-range again. That's probably going to be close to the tweeter. It looks like a little to the right. So that's arriving later. So I'm going to click Insert and make that my new reference delay. We'll go through and do the mid-bass driver. That's to the left, so that's early as expected because that's closer to me. We'll do the right mid-bass driver. Again, that's to the right, so we'll click Find Delay and click Insert. And now we're going to go to the subwoofer because you always got to remember the sub, right? And here's what's great about IR. There's no more guessing with a tape measure. This is all precise. No more wondering, do you measure to the front of the subwoofer enclosure? Do you measure to the back? Where's those sound waves reflecting? With IR, we have exact, precise data when it arrives to the microphone. So again, Find Delay. We can see where our reference is. Click Insert. So that is my new time 0. The subwoofer, as expected, is the furthest away. So I'm going to go back to that 808 real quick. Now I'm going to hit Find Delay on every speaker again. But now I'm going to click Insert Delta, and you'll notice all of them shift, and they all will now start at 7.61. So Insert Delta, and if you look at the very bottom, you can see where it says delay polarity for the channel. It's adding that delta delay that's at the top. So here 1.43 or 1.63, you can see on the bottom, that's now in the additional delay pop-up. So now with this delta delay, all of the speakers are arriving at the same time. You have to have at least relative close proximity when we look at phase later on. But again, this takes all the guesswork out. This is more efficient and quicker than using a tape measure, and it's a lot more precise as well. And you can see here, as I'm quickly going through on a 3-way system, I mean, this is dead precision. Everything is starting at that 7.61 millisecond reference in time. So they're all arriving with the subwoofer. And these are those key micro automations we talk about, precision and efficiency and consistency, because we have the data. And, just like that, I quickly got everything precisely arriving at my driver's seat by using the built-in delay finder, which is really cool. So when we talk about Max, it's a very powerful unit. And like any software or hardware, there's a learning time, but once you get into it, once you understand the flow and you know how the micro automations work, especially the AutoSet EQ with the target mode, it's really simplifies the process. We're talking about, shops that were doing 2-3 hour tunes in an hour now with higher level of performance. I know, Mark Eldridge, he's a, legendary competitor and one of our reps. He was talking what would take him 2-3 days to do a competition ready car that would, just kick butt on the competition circuit. 2-3 days of tuning, he's done with in 3 hours. So that's where these micro automations and the simplicity of integrating with Vxi, MVI, and now TWK really come into play. We can take those 3 pillars and properly make the educated adjustments to give your customers better performance, better reliability, and make your shop stand apart. So, well, that was kind of a brief overview. For more detail on how all of this works, please visit our help centers, support on the top of jlaudio.com. Of course, we have our live weekly trainings we do every day or every Thursday on Facebook. And all of those trainings can be watched post live on our Facebook page and our YouTube page as we get those updated. And of course, our tech team, man, they're very smart. Carlos, Lee, Eric, and Brian, you can contact them through our help center as well, technical@jlaudio.com, or just call our main number and follow the prompts to tech support. And that's what I have for the presentation. So I guess, whatever questions there are or whatever else you guys want to talk about.
Well, we definitely, first of all, thank you, Rob, for that. Actually, I think that you did a really good job compressing that into the main points. I have sat through some of the more detailed presentations before, and there's a lot more features there that we don't unfortunately have the time on this one to go through. But if you guys want, absolutely check out on Thursdays. JL does all their in-depth training sessions. Go to JL Audio Facebook page, and you'll see Rob and the crew on there every week. Now, let's get to what's important here. And we're going to circle back to the beginning of this episode. Rob, you brought to the light a lot of key features that really streamline a lot of the processes required to get the right signal. The last part you did there was, I mean, anybody could understand that. Yes, you could take a tape measure and measure the distance, but and I like that you brought that up. Where are you measuring it from? And are you measuring from a single source point, whereby, it's the center of your face, I guess, is what you're trying, or your nose. Yeah. And again, like you said, that's not necessarily how the head is shaped and so on and so forth. Where I'm going with this, and I'm going to ask Dave the same question, is you've brought forth features that help streamline the installer, the technician's job. So now help me connect the dots. You're a shop. You've talked to shops that now have invested, because this is not a small investment. It's a big investment. Not a giant investment by any means, but it's a bigger investment. Help me connect the dots. I get it. You've got some cool features that help streamline. Why do I need to spend the money on this?
Well, I think, I look at it, when you look at, say, fabrication, right? These guys that are putting out these killer fab builds, they're not doing it with a jigsaw. They've either invested in high quality routers and templates, or they've invested in a CNC. So it's efficient and it's precise. To me, this is the same thing on the tuning side. Yeah, you can go in with a microphone, you can make it sound good, but with Tune 4 and Max, that's where the precision comes into play. And then with those micro automations, the efficiency. So I guess, it's always been interesting to me how, some people, they won't bat an eye at an expensive template kit or a CNC or router or, the $100 screwdriver from Snap-on. But here's a tool that when used properly, yes, it's system tuning. So for some reason it's looked at differently, but it shouldn't be. This is a very important shop tool. And yeah, there's a cost to it, but with the efficiency that comes into play, that should help you sell more products. The comfort level goes up. So it's all stuff at the end of the day that should allow a shop to sell higher level products, to have higher level performance. And then again, that's where that return and referral business comes in. So when you start thinking about it like that, it's not that big of an investment. And I guarantee you, it'll pay for itself really quickly. I know us at, JL Audio, of course, we're a little closer to it, but, we're putting out ridiculous high quality tunes in 20, like Nick, who is one of the main masterminds behind this, he's putting out top notch tunes in 25 minutes. Stuff that you could easily take to a competition and do really well. And that's gonna be more than enough for our typical customer. So to be able to go in and do what would take hours, if not days to do in less than an hour, that's where it really starts to make sense. And that efficiency, getting onto that next car and not worrying if the golden ears aren't in the shop that day. Anyone should be able to go in and at least tune to a target and make a couple of adjustments based off the customer's preference.
Dave, I'm going to give you a chance to respond as well. I just wanted to say two things to what you just said there, Rob. Number one, your analogy in comparison to other shop investments, such as a router, the CNC router table, CNC machine, laser. The reason why the shops do that is, to be efficient, but you want repeatable results. Since the template, some of these templates you guys buy, they're expensive. Let's be honest. There's some templates that don't get used as much as you wish they did. You buy them for a specific purpose. You got them for a job, and they might still be there since that last job. Now you're talking about a device, a tool system, a measurement system that literally should be, in my opinion, pretty much used every day. Right? I mean, if you're in the business of cardio, this is something that you'll be using every day. So to your point, Rob, that Snap-on tool, screwdriver that we all spent way too much money on to have, you use it every day. So it's kind of okay. That's the first part. The second part, I just want to say again, repeatable result. You put in the work, you're going to be able to repeat that result time and time again, which on a timeline will save you more and more time as you do it again and again and make you more and more money. Dave, your thoughts?
I agree with everything that you guys were saying. I like Rob's point on the investment of tools. I mean, we often see guys standing in their shops with, the college fund for their kids in terms of Snap-on toolboxes, that sort of thing, and that's just something to hold the tool, right? So imagine now you have a piece of hardware, and let's just for a second get out of our minds that this is just for competition type systems, right? That's not the truth whatsoever. I mean, this is a tool. Yes, you can use it on your higher end systems, but like Rob said, there's dealers that on a daily basis are using it for measurement, for system tuning, that sort of thing. And at the same time, our ears, no matter how great your hearing is, you cannot replicate what tools like this can do for you. I've had dealers that have had systems where they've tuned, 3, 4, 5, 6 hours, and then use a Mac system and had ridiculous improvements in sound after just spending an hour with it. So, if you can save yourself 5 or 6 hours and turn that down to 1 hour and blow the socks off of your customer, I mean, that's not only good for the customer, it's also good for business.
I had done a training. Oh, sorry, Ben. I was just saying, what Dave was talking about. I had just done a training about a week or so ago for some Max dealers, and they had tuned a vehicle before we came in, and then we did the Max tune, and one of the guys was like, "Man, I'm depressed. I thought my tune sounded really good. It sounds nothing compared to what Max did, and you guys were a heck of a lot quicker than I was as well." So it was like they invested in Max, and some of it was maybe he, hadn't quite used it yet. So we guided him through it. But like once he saw what we were able to do with it and how much better it sounded, especially once you kind of learn how to analyze and what adjustments to make, he was like, I'm depressed what I did. They did one without it, one with, and then we came in and did one. And it was night and day and in a fraction of the time. So, but it's not just those high levels, whether it's an entry level system. Again, like I said, I would rather have C2 speakers on Vxi than, more expensive speakers on just a normal analog amplifier, because we can make those sound good. We can make passive speakers. You don't have to be active. That's why we have that two-way target, de-equalize all the acoustical nonsense to make passive components or coaxials sound good. So don't just look at this as a top end piece only. This is to me, DSP should be part of everyday business. And if you think about it like that and don't let it sit and collect dust, then that's where your investment comes into play. It doesn't make sense if you're not going to use it. So
I want to add another layer to this, right? And so I'm not a tech, but I talk to a lot of top technicians. And a lot of the top fab guys and shop owners, what do they love to do? And why do they have the customers that they do? They're quite transparent. They love showing off the work that their team does, the cleanliness of the shop, the equipment that they use, the process, down to the type of tape and loom they use. I mean, you talk to some of these top guys, they want the customer to see that, to remind them that's why you're coming to me, and that's why you're paying the money that you are and not even thinking about it.
Yeah, I mean, when you show a customer this, I mean, this is pretty darn impressive. And I love having like stuff that gives you something to talk about, right? So you can even talk about, instead of a single mic here, we've got this, where it's going to, wherever your head is in the car, that's the sweet spot. So, and it's a selling point. It justifies Vxi. It justifies, why you're paying for the tuning using a Max measurement system. It just opens that door and makes it a lot much more natural than just trying to sell yourself.
No, and just another layer. That's something I noticed. You know what I mean? A lot of shops have a single mic, and this is not to say one system is better or not. I'm just talking from a perception point of view. Definitely, there's some perceived next level professionalism there. I want to get on to the next topic here. You mentioned it a couple times in your presentation, Rob. Can you help elaborate on the importance and just drive this home of the target mode settings?
Yeah, target mode is really important, as we kind of saw in, with the micro automations, especially the auto set EQ or just the live EQ functionality or RTA functionality, but it's giving you that baseline. I mean, target mode in general is just cool. I play around with it all the time because it's essentially an electrical model of acoustical behavior. So if you don't know quite how phase works, you can see it in a more cleaner way, where if you have two drivers, playing with delay, you can see how the wraps move with one another. So it's a good educational tool, what all pass filters do, how they add an extra phase wrap. But with the target mode, really, again, it's all about the driver interaction. And that's what we've been preaching a lot with Tune 4. It's not just tuning to that full range target like we've typically been doing. We're going to get each driver dialed in individually and then analyze how they interact at that full range response. And really then that's where you're looking, when you're looking at the live measurements, where your summations are. Are there dips where we need more energy? And having that ability to adjust each of the individual speakers is how we get the proper full range response. If you're going just full range, you don't know what's causing a null at a crossover point. Is the filter frequency wrong? Is the slope wrong? Is it a phase issue? So by having everything broken down to individual drivers, you have that analysis now that gives you information to make those educated choices when it comes to improving that full range, or at least the summation between drivers or between filters in the car. So target modes, on top of the automations, it's how you get that extra level by having that, essentially the summation analysis by having each target individually and then the full range sum response.
Okay. I want to move on to something didn't get a lot of play during your presentation, but I think dealers would like to at least hear about this. And that is the TWK. The TWK's been out for quite some time, standalone DSP unit. It's been upgraded now with the recent software update. So what exactly are the gains on that update?
So with Tune 4.5 that launched last week, we now have TWK functionality on the Measure tab in our Tune 4 software. So when Tune 4 first launched, the Measure tab, so the RTA functionality, that integration that we showed earlier, that didn't work with TWK. You would have to launch two different versions of Tune. You have your controls, and then you'd have your Measure tab here. So with 4.5, TWK now plays, TWK 88 and D8 will both play with the Measure tab. So, we can use the targets and the auto set EQ functionality on a TWK now. We can look at live phase analysis. TWK doesn't have an all pass filter like Vxi or MVI does, but we can still use signal delay to improve the phase traces as needed. So really, we've just simplified the process of tuning a TWK by having the Measure tab and those key micro automations that are now integrated into it. The hardware itself is the same, nothing's changed. It's just the software, that Measure tab in Tune 4 now will view and play with a TWK standalone processor.
So Dave, that's an important thing to know, because there are a lot of happy JL customers out there that may have invested their money into a pre-DSP type system whereby they have a choice to make. I know you have an amplifier there. I wanted you to pull that up. This obviously, what the amplifier that you have there is the all-in-one Vxi amplifier, right? So that's multi-channel or mono DSP integrated amplifier. That's a Vxi series, right, Dave?
Yeah, this is the 1000/5, and kind of have it a little bit closer to the camera than making it look a little bit bigger. But to give you a reference, that's a business card beside it. So the compact footprint of it, the amplifier, is remarkable. This is a 5-channel. It's 1,000 watts. They tuck away quite easily in the trunks of your car, underneath your seat, whatever you want to do. So to harness that type of power in small of a footprint is quite a feat in itself. Let alone now add all the DSP that's built into that on top of it,
So the point I wanted you to show, that obviously that's like cutting edge. That's like top of the line. You want to get into a new system, that's probably your best choice. However, I was mentioning there's a lot of guys that have a previous system, pre-DSP. And where I want to connect the dots there is, there's an option now with TWK, with that latest update, to kind of get more up to speed and optimize that system and really bring it to the next level. What do you think of that?
I agree. Prior to Vxi, people were using XD amplifiers because they had the similar type of power handling. So the XD was kind of that size, but if you added a TWK into the mix, you were adding more cables, more interconnects, all that other type of stuff. The beauty of that all being Vxi is fantastic, but like you said, if you've got an older system, let's say you're using XD or you're using RD or you're using a combination of, JD or maybe even another brand of amplifiers, the previous way of integrating a TWK, which was a system tuning DSP, like Rob said, all you could really do is listen or analyze with a RTA and just, move the EQ. You could not have the side-by-side comparison and measurement and then the adjustments after the fact. So, this new version of Tune 4.5 is really going to make anybody that has, a typical system, adding a tweak into it is really going to take that system to the next level. And, the tuning that's involved is going to be minimal because of systems like Max.
Awesome. Guys, we've run out of time, but just to review, Rob, you helped us understand some key features and benefits from the Max measurement system. Match that with the new Tune 4.0 software. Optimize that system further with Vxi amps or MVI amps. And if not, if you're old school and you want to upgrade an older system, man, you've even updated the TWK, the tweak, so you could, get the best out of your system, take that to the next level. I think we got that's pretty much all of it right there.
Sure hope so.
Rob, can't thank you enough for coming on with us today. And again, I want to remind you, catch Rob and the rest of the training crew over at JL Audio every Thursday. They have their own training videos going on. I encourage you to go check them out. Thanks a lot, Rob.
Thanks, guys.
Take care now. Dave, I think your mission was accomplished. We set out on this session to kind of give every reason possible for dealers to really consider that investment. And I think at the end of it, if you really paid attention to the show, it's not much of an investment, but more of a necessity, really.
You're right. It is a necessity. And, the nice thing about everything that's happening is, we're on Tune 4.5 right now. Obviously, Tune 1 was the first one. As the years have gone by, software has, been developed, I should say. Things are getting better. There's improvements. There's ways of making the systems tuning aspects faster. So although there's a lot of manual work here, I knowing JL Audio the way that I know them, I'm certain that as time goes on, we're going to see more improvements that are going to make things even faster, tuning much faster. But it's really important for guys to know the fundamentals. It's great to be able to push a button and have everything be done for you, but there's going to be a time where a customer is going to ask you for something out of the norm. We all have different listening preferences. Somebody may want something different. You need to know the fundamentals as to how we got there in order to cope with these special requests. So, I really stress that guys, spend time learning acoustic, learning audio, learning, how to fine tune devices using Max. And I think they're going to be, better installers for the next wrench that the automotive manufacturers throw at us. Who knows what's coming down the road, right?
You don't know. And why limit yourself? Nobody's in the business to limit their business. You know what I'm saying? So you're going to see some graphics up here. You guys want to, get more information on all JL products, not only the Max and the Tune, but everything else under the JL Audio umbrella. Check it out. JLaudio.com is the official website. And if you happen to be a retailer in Canada, you want to get a hold of Dave and his team over at GemSend. They are the exclusive Canadian distributor for all things JL Audio. Dave, Mr. Singh, once again, that was a blast. Thank you for bringing Rob on and talking to us about Tune, Max, and everything else DSP. Looking forward to the next one, sir.
Thanks, Ben. Appreciate it.
Have a good one. All right, guys. Well, thanks for hanging in with us this long. Got some great news. If you didn't already know, we have an awesome contest going on. It's being brought to you courtesy of the folks at 5-Axis Innovations. It's your chance to win a custom interactive sound damping display. That's right. They are giving away to any North American retailer. All you got to do is head on over to our Facebook page, CMA Networks on Facebook, and get to the post. Share, like it, and put your name of your shop and where you're located, and we will be doing the draw on our very next retailer roundtable going down on Wednesday, June 8th. It's a free sound damping display courtesy of the folks at 5-Axis Innovations. I'll also want to remind you to continue tuning in to CMA Networks. We are deep into car audio sessions, all car audio brands, all week long, right through to Tuesday, June 14th. We've got some phenomenal brands to present this month, as you can see right there. JL Audio today, many more other brands to go. So if you're into car audio, you definitely don't want to miss out on that. And of course, make sure you visit our website, cmanetworks.com, where all our videos are archived. You can search by category, by brand, and even by trainer. Check out my man, Rob Haynes. He's got a bunch of videos that we've done together and his own profile right there on our website. That's it. Thanks for tuning into this CMA Connected presented by SiriusXM. I'm your host, Ben Wu. Until next time, we connect.
I mean, yeah, let's talk about today's the day where I'm gonna go topics.
Roll it down.
I am.
You don't need a car to listen to Sirius XM. You can listen anywhere. You know that, right?
What? Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio.
Kevin, you could use your phone.
What? What?
Alexa, play Kevin Hart's Laugh Out Loud Radio on Sirius XM.
What?
This is how I know you're getting old. I guess that was it.
What?